Moments ago, the Israeli military citing its initial probe, saying that the source of the fire that had killed the Al Jazeera journalist could not be determined. For more, let's speak to our foreign editor, Armen, Georgian. Armen, this was a sensitive issue. We knew it was, but remind us just how we got here.
Well, just firstly on the probe, just a bit more background on why the Israelis are saying they can't determine where the bullet was from. That is because the ammunition is used both in M16 rifles, which are used by Israeli soldiers, but also that M16 rifle is used by Palestinian militants. Now, is it surprising that the Israeli probe reached this conclusion? Not really, because there is no cooperation between the Israeli investigation and the Palestinian investigation. Bear in mind, there are two probes happening in parallel. Obviously, the two sides are very, very, very divided on, all kinds of issues. There's a very, very deep distrust between the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli authorities. And so the Palestinian Authority has said that it is conducting its own probe, that it will then take the case to the International Criminal Court. So it is basically intent on taking this further to turn this case into what the Israeli government no doubt will say is a kind of political hit job against the state of Israel instead of an impartial investigation. That is how Israel generally tends to view these Palestinian attempts to try and take such cases to the International Criminal Court. So we've got obviously very, very deep divide between the two sides, which is playing out in the legal sphere and when it comes to these two separate investigations.
Yeah, and just a reminder that she was wearing a jacket that was marked press, had a helmet, and was standing alongside other reporters. So the initial probe saying they couldn't find out the source of the fire, but obviously, very clearly, a journalist working and covering the raids in the West Bank. Tell us a bit more about the context of the story that Shireen was working on. These raids in Jenin have been going on for a little bit of time now.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Jenin has been a flashpoint, particularly since, not only, but particularly since early April. The Israeli government ordered, the Prime Minister Bennett gave security agencies what he called, quote, full freedom to end violence and, quote, to defeat terror, unquote. This was, for him, a response to the attack on Israeli civilians, 3 of whom were killed in Tel Aviv at the beginning of April. And at that point, the Israeli government ordered a crackdown, essentially, which has involved regular raids in Jenin. Of course, we could always go back earlier than April to look at other cases of attacks on Palestinians as well. So, it's obviously difficult to talk about this without someone saying, well, which side are we blaming here? The fact is, there is a very, history going back such a long way of who started this, who's really responsible. What is clear is that in the current very charged context, we're approaching both the anniversary of the Nakba, the catastrophe of the Palestinian dispossession, and at the same time, Israel will be marking its own Independence Day. So all of that underscores the extreme tensions in Jenin and in the West Bank today, whereby we've got these two parallel histories really playing out and contributing emotionally, symbolically to these current tensions.
All right, Armen, thank you very much. Armen, Georgian, speaking to us there